I used to be a cheerleader. By looking at me, you probably assume not, based off my physical appearance. And granted, I'm not the best idea to put at the top of the pyramid, but I loved being on the team, just like every little girl dreams. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into that team. I went to every practice, every cheer camp, every session, because I wanted to support my team members even if I couldn't physically do everything. I had the bow in my hair, the pom-poms, and I absolutely loved being under those Friday night lights. My junior year of high school, I did my first halftime performance. I could have done it earlier, but I just wasn't comfortable enough with my disability to do that in front of everybody. But my friend, who was temporarily disabled at the time, asked me if I would do it with her because she couldn't do everything everybody else could. So I said, sure, you know what, why not? So I went out, I did the halftime show, and I had so much fun. That night, other disabled community members saw themselves represented in a way that had never been done before. That raised a lot of questions. We had family members reaching out to my coaches, asking how their disabled daughters could get involved because they saw a disabled cheerleader on the team, and it inspired them. Now, my cheer coaches could have taken this opportunity to promote inclusion and how diverse the team is, but they were scared. They were scared of accommodating anybody else that's disabled. They were scared of the internal work that they would have to do to accommodate future disabled cheerleaders. This led me to be removed from the team. Now, this was my first experience with discrimination. Being discriminated against as a 15-year-old girl is a very formative experience, and I don't recommend it to anybody. But I have become very aware since then of the discrimination and the microaggressions and the negative stereotypes I face every day. In my opinion, the three factors of the essence of a changing world are awareness, disability studies, and the social model of disability. We have to promote an inclusive society, but to do that, we have to start with awareness. Now, based on looking at me, I'm sure you can assume why this topic is important to me, but I'm here to share with you why it should be important to you. Because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The disabled community is the largest minority in the world. It's the only minority that you can join or leave at any time. 1 in 4 American adults have a disability. That means every single person of this audience will become disabled at some point in your life. Or, if not yourself, someone that you love will become disabled. We can't wait to make an inclusive and accessible society. We need to start now. And that starts with you. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So when I first came to college, I was told to take a course called History of Disability. And I said, okay, I'll take it. This was the first of many disability studies courses I took. And I absolutely loved it. It gave me the representation that I had been yearning for a very long time. I have gone through many experiences in my life and microaggressions every day, but no one ever talks about it. And this class was the first time it ever represented me in the educational system. This class also taught me about ableism. And if you've never heard about ableism, ableism is the discrimination in favor of able-bodied people. It is we talk about racism and sexism, but we never talk about ableism. Now that you know the little definition, I would like to share with you the stereotypes of disability. Now, there are many stereotypes of disability, but I'm going to share with you 2 today that have affected me the most. The object of pity is the idea that being disabled is pitiful or a bad experience. It's the idea that you would rather be dead than disabled. Now, this is a very negative stereotype, as you can assume, and I have experienced this many times in my lifetime. I quarantined, like many do, during COVID-19, and I left for the first time. I got to go to the grocery store and interact with people, and I was so excited, but someone approached me, and they put their hand on my face unconsensually, and they prayed over me. They prayed over me because they assumed that my life was tragic since I am a wheelchair user. And that happens very often, very common, and that's due to the lack of education regarding disability and the experience. The second stereotype I'd like to share with you is called the eternal child. The eternal child is the idea that every disabled person will continue to be children. They will never grow up to be an adult. They will never grow up to have intimate relationships. They will never grow up to go to college. And this I've probably faced the most in my lifetime, as many disabled people do. I was on my senior spring break, and I was swimming in a pool, and a woman comes up to me and she said, "Did you have so much fun swimming in the pool, sweetheart?" And I said, "Yes, I did. Thank you so much for asking. I'm so excited to attend Central Michigan University in the fall, and I can't wait to start this next 4 years of my life in the next path." And her jaw was on the floor because she couldn't comprehend the fact that a disabled person was talking to her in that manner. She couldn't comprehend the fact that a disabled person was going to college. Now, this is a very harmful stereotype because disabled people are not all children. We are college students. I am a college student. Hi, my name's Jess, and I'm disabled. And I'm sitting in front of you today, and I'd like to share with you that 19% of college students are disabled. And they deserve representation. They deserve not to be treated like children. They deserve to be included in the rest of society. Now, back to disability studies a little bit. So, as I mentioned earlier, with ableism, I experience that on a daily basis. And my friends and I have connected over the internet, and we've reached out to each other, and we've slowly been working through internalized ableism because of the issues that we face in everyday life. So when society constantly tells you that you are not good enough, and you are not welcome, and you are not productive enough, it takes a toll on you, a really big toll. And when I first came to college, it was the first time I ever had anybody work for me that was not my family. And at the time, I was not comfortable with my disability, and I was apologizing for everything. I would say, "I'm sorry, can I go to the bathroom? Can I have some water? I'm sorry. Can I have some food? I'm sorry." And my friend sat me down one day and she said, "Jess, why are you sorry?" And I said, "Well, because you have to help me." And she said, "Well, first of all, it's my job, so that's the point. And second of all, you don't need to apologize for your existence. You don't need to apologize for your basic needs." And that was the first time anybody ever told me that. That was the first time I realized that disabled people deserve to be here, and they don't have to apologize, and we shouldn't have to apologize for our existence. I deserve to be here. You deserve to be here. We deserve to be here. And that really changed my mindset, and I started going down a path to learn more about disability and how to be more confident. And that led me into the social model of disability. So if you've never heard of the models of disability, they are the framework of how you view disability. The medical model is the most common model of disability. I was raised in it, most people are raised in it, and it's the idea that disability should be cured or treated with some form of medical intervention. And the social model of disability is the exact opposite of that. The social model of disability brings the idea that the disabled person is not the problem. Society is the inaccessible barrier to the disabled person. And this was liberating because this was the first time anybody told me that society was the issue. It wasn't me. It's not my fault that society is not inclusive to me. And it also brings the idea that if society is more accessible to the disabled person, they would be less disabled. So is it true that I would be less disabled if there was a ramp instead of stairs? Is it true that I would be less disabled if I could click my own clicker instead of have someone assist me? Think of a world where everybody uses ASL. This inclusive world might be hard to grasp, but it is completely tangible. And I know it is because I saw it. Last summer, I got the opportunity to go to London, and the social model of disability was founded in the UK. So this was a very exciting experience for me. It was always a dream of mine to go, and before I went, everybody told me, Jess, you're gonna love it. And I said, why? Am I gonna love it from the culture, the food? And they said, no, you're just gonna like how people treat you. And I didn't fully understand that until I went. And then I went to London, and they were correct. I did love it because of how people treated me. Everybody was so kind, and the environment was so accessible. And it wasn't even anything wild or out of this world accessible. It was basic rights and basic needs were addressed. Every taxi had a ramp. Every bus had a ramp. Almost every tube station was wheelchair accessible, and if it wasn't, it was clearly labeled so that I could know where I can go and where I can't. We don't have that here. I don't have the privilege of being able to do that. And this really gave me independence and confidence to be able to navigate in a world where I felt that I belonged. And they also acknowledged the fact that living with a disability is expensive, and they offered discounts. They acknowledged the fact that sometimes when you're disabled, you need a staff member with you. So I went to a concert, and I shared that I had a disability, and they gave me a free caregiver ticket to a concert so that I didn't have to pay double. And that was one of the first times I didn't have to pay double to go to an event that everybody else can. So I'm here to tell you that this accessible world is completely tangible. It's there. And I believe that the UK has created this environment because of the fact that the model of disability is founded in their system. And that's because they view disabled people as a part of society. They have been doing this for a very long time, right? And they've been accessible because of the fact that this is in their foundation. And they acknowledge the fact that they need to make society more accessible, and they're slowly moving to create a more accessible environment. And not only the UK, but I know this world is possible because of the fact that it is in our history. The indigenous valued everyone in society, regardless if they were disabled or not, as long as they could provide some sort of benefit to society, whether that was basket making or storytelling, they were acknowledged and supported. And disability history is something that needs to be acknowledged more, because I didn't know any of this until I took the class. And I believe that disability history will lead us to make a more inclusive environment. And you might be asking, well, how? How are we going to make a more inclusive environment, Jess? Well, that's K through 12 education. I believe that disability history should be implemented in K through 12 education because of the fact that if disabled children start learning about their history at a young age, they will become more confident and independent. Not everybody gets the opportunity to go to college. They should see themselves represented in the educational system before having to pursue a higher education. And not only will it benefit disabled people, but able-bodied children will learn about disability history like the UK, and they will learn to be inclusive and treat them as if they're anybody else in society, and then they will turn into inclusive adults and will slowly be able to move to a more inclusive environment. To close, I would like to share with you a couple of things that have helped me identify the changing world. And that is that my physical impairment is not my biggest issue. It's the fact that society is inaccessible to me. Disability is simply part of the human experience, And it's not a bad one. It's wonderful. Disability is a culture, and it deserves to be celebrated and acknowledged. We even have a pride flag and a pride month. It deserves to be taught, and other people should celebrate it as well. And finally, disability studies is the essence of a changing world. Thank you.